We're at Mastercard right here in Nairobi to speak to the Senior Vice President Shehryar Ali, Mastercard at East Africa and Indian Ocean Islands, just to understand what they're doing across Africa. They've just hit a mark, 45% in terms of acceptance across Africa. What else is in the offing? Welcome to the Trading Bell. Shehryar, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, my friend.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much as well for hosting us here. Beautiful offices you have.
Thank you.
And I always want to sit at the seat of people who could be probably utilizing your services but may not know the history a little bit behind it. Yeah. So we want to appreciate what Mastercard is and what your role is, especially in the African context. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that question. So, we started out as a technology company in the 1950s. And there was a need for infrastructure where interoperability could be ascertained. And they started on the East Coast in the US. So a number of banks got together and they said, okay, we need to have a common infrastructure so there is interoperability, convenience, and ease for customers to, exchange value. So I think that's where the Mastercard journey began. And then the underlying root, need that existed was that it had to actually scale globally. Because if you can have an infrastructure that is interoperable, touches hundreds of millions of merchants, billions of customers with values stored in either their cards or accounts, that now is the real magic. And that's what Mastercard did.
Absolutely.
We also are a company which is very in tune with the client's changing behavior. So for example, initially, there used to be those zip zaps. I don't know if you remember those days. Maybe I'm dating myself, but there used to be those, zip zaps. Then came, the Mac stripes were there. Then you had the chip coming in. Now you have moved on to phones. And as of now, this is my card.
It's the latest now.
It's my ring and it's got a chip right here. And now I just came from Mauritius yesterday and I was just tapping all over the place because I don't need to look for my phone or take out my card. And so I think if you look at it from a collapsed time span perspective, this is just a massive shift. We've gone over many decades, not only ensured that we innovate in terms of the form factor, but we are now serving governments, merchants, banks, fintechs, telcos. You may have heard, we have invested in Airtel, in MTN, and we are live in multiple markets across Africa. So we have localized ourselves to a great extent. There's still a bit of a journey to go through, but I think that is the right thing to do. You cannot take one solution in one part of the world and expect it to work in the other. You have to customize it and make sure that there's an underlying trust that the users of that ecosystem find relevant, convenient, secure, and it makes their life a bit easier. So Mastercard is that journey. That's what we are. We use artificial intelligence. We have cybersecurity investments. We are expanding locally, like in Africa. Just last year, we've gotten into Mauritius, Ghana, Uganda. We have people on ground who are sitting close with the banks, merchants, users, and hearing their voice. And saying, okay, what's that next click? How do we make your life easy? How do we solve your pain points?
I like this. It's a very simple one.
We'll get you
easy
one.
to go. You'll get me one, right?
There we go.
Lovely. Speaking about your work in Africa, I saw the facts and it's amazing to see how your acceptance network across Africa has been. And the figure was 45% in 2025. Commendable work there.
Thank you.
I know this cuts across East Africa and, across just Africa, other places as well. What are the enablers behind this particular growth and how do you feel about this as well?
We are extremely proud and I can't say enough about our teams. We sometimes just look at the result, don't realize the hard works, the late nights, the effort that the teams put in. So a big shout out to the team in Africa and of course to my team in East Africa. What you don't get to 45% growth in acquiring or acceptance just like that. There are multiple points of friction that a merchant, I just had a breakfast with a number of merchants in one of the local hotels. And we asked them, hey, what's your pain points? What do you want us to solve for you? And they said, hey, can you do real-time settlement?
Oh,
Meaning that if a payment happens, I get my money immediately.
yeah.
Yeah.
No delay.
So that was one. Then there was talk about the economics. Like, can we get the economics to be set in line with that merchant category code?
Yeah.
Meaning that merchant, not all merchants are same, right? Schools are different, governments are different, retailers are different, telcos are different, and they may have different economic models that they're trying to work with different spreads.
Yeah.
So how is Mastercard kind of customizing the economics? So just to share what we as Mastercard take very seriously,
Yeah.
is we said, okay, we've heard you. You want real-time settlement. You may have heard that we have actually delivered our switch on soil in Africa, in South Africa, to start with. And what that does is it opens 2 to 3 real-time settlement windows for us.
Wow.
And when we tell that to our banks and to the merchants, and they realize, oh, so if there's 2 to 3 near real-time settlements in a day, that means I can get my money, very quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one. Then the second was, who are we solving for? Who are these merchants?
Yeah.
And so it was clear that SMEs, who are the backbone of all the countries in Africa, 40% of the GDP of Africa sits with SMEs. Kenya alone, I mean, if you look at it, 7 million SMEs, formalized, maybe 3. And so then the question was, can we give incentives to get the SMEs to become formalized and accept digital payments? Because today when you use cash, there's the cost of cash, which is to the tune of 2% of the GDP of a country, which is huge. People don't realize it, right? When you go and take out cash from the ATM, you probably don't calculate that you actually sat in a car, you spent fuel, you went to the machine. There is the bank, which is covering the security of that cash.
Yeah.
There is the movement of logistics. So where was that cash printed? Where was it stored? Where was it brought? All of that is a big cost.
It's a big,
Yeah.
even risk itself.
Exactly. And risky. And in the process, God forbid, if you get, have a bad experience in terms of somebody taking your money, then it's even worse.
Yeah.
So I think for us, it was to bring that up in front of multiple stakeholders in the market and say, hey, let's ensure that we digitize. Now, okay, so you can ask me, hey, why just stop there? What's the benefit of digitization? So then my answer to that would be that once you digitize, what happens? Data starts coming out. So now the merchant is becoming visible to the financial institutions.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And the financial institutions are going, okay, I can see the cash flow. I can see the clients' cycles, and I can give them trade and working capital to grow their business. But before that, when they were doing their business in cash, it was in the ether. There was no visibility, and the merchant is like, hey, can't prove to anybody to lend to them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we want to be that bridge and bring that merchant to a point where they can say, I digitized, I got the efficiencies of that, I lost the cost of cash. Now I'm visible, I can access credit. And at the back of this now, when I get my credit, I can grow my business. So we want to be part of that journey.
Okay. And I love that. I like especially the mention of tokenization, digital identity capabilities, as well as the virtual cards. And I wanted to ask you, when it comes to one key element, which definitely, as you have said, financial institutions would want to see a track record so that even when I'm advancing the facility, I can tell this is a person, a business that is well proven in. I wanted to ask you, where is this place when you see all these infrastructure upgrades? Where is the place of strengthening trust, security, and as you have said, interoperability across East Africa? And what do you see as a scale in terms of transactions and scale?
Correct. I think that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. So let's look at it from this perspective. For the audience, maybe it's easy if I say, hey, if you take out your card from your pocket, there's the card PAN, which is a 16-digit card number that's written there. Right? There's an expiry, and there is a CVV at the back. Those are your card credentials. Okay. If they get compromised, yes, there are second layers of authentication, like an OTP might come to you, right, or other things that we try to safeguard. But when it comes to really solving the problem at its root, and if you look at the typology of fraud that happens globally, a lot of it is e-commerce related. So how do we secure the customer from e-commerce perspective? You tokenize the card, meaning that the number that's actually going through the network, right, or the number that is generated from my ring is actually not my card number. It's a layer of a temporary card number that we generate for the purpose of that transaction.
Of the transaction. Lovely. Lovely.
So therefore, even if that card number gets read by anybody anywhere, that card number was only good for that transaction.
And cannot be
Correct.
used.
Cannot be used.
Yeah.
So that's called the securitization from the utilization of tokenized or tokenization technology. So if we were to now think of this at a scale, to your question perspective, let's say you buy from Jumia, Amazon, Uber Eats, whatever.
Yeah.
I think you will be much more at ease if instead of every time you're doing the checkout, you have to go and enter your card number, expiry, all of that. You have your card on file in a secure directory. So Mastercard offers a Mastercard click to pay directory where at the time of checkout, your card is already stored. And when you say click, it doesn't pick your actual card number again. It takes a token.
Takes the token now.
Right.
Okay.
So that way your steps, like say if you had 7 steps to check out at any of these websites, it drops down to maybe 2 or 3.
Lovely.
You went in, you chose your thing, you saw your cost, and then you're doing your transaction. And it's as good as you tapping your phone or tapping this ring in the physical space.
Yeah.
But now in e-commerce space, it's a faster checkout. So that is something that we designed, and we said, okay, let's ensure there is security and trust at the foundation of our product construct, so that the customer is at ease, the merchant also, realizes that this is a protected transaction. And that then yields scale, because now the customer is at ease that we've got it. Now this is one angle of securitization,
which is fantastic.
The second one is that we've been using artificial intelligence for the last 20 years. So 2 decades now. We have to secure billions of transactions every day, right? That's not easy.
Did you say 2 billion?
No, billions of.
Billions.
So we have 3 billion customers globally.
Wow.
So 3 billion people hold our credentials right now.
The transactions is massive. That's massive now.
Correct.
Yeah.
So for that kind of a network to be secured, you need to ensure that there is artificial intelligence baked in from a prediction perspective, prevention perspective. Reaction is your last resort, right? You ideally want to stop any kind of fraud in its tracks as and when it's brimming. Right? So our decision intelligence softwares are amazing. They protect our networks globally, give us the alerts before things really get out of hand. And so that's there. And then there is at least 2,000 solutions that we have designed for different purposes in the cybersecurity space, which we use to make sure that our network stays one which people trust, has security at its foundation, and then makes digital adoption very easy for customers.
Wow. I love that, especially in this advent of AI.
Yeah.
Let's move on, because I still see East Africa, the potential is still massive. And at one point, I was having a chat with one of your members at Mastercard, and they were speaking about how the opportunity they see in East Africa is massive. From your perspective, and sitting here at the leadership of that particular side, I wanted to ask you, when you look at the digital payments opportunities that have been projected, and I know you reached $1.5 trillion and you're aiming to reach at 1.5 trillion by 2030. Where do you see this biggest untapped growth? Who are this?
So, one thing that we have to admit, that in Africa, 90% of the transactions today still move on cash.
90%.
90%. Now, I've just shared with you on the costs as a percentage of GDP that the country is paying. Wouldn't it be better if the governments actually spent that money on maybe healthcare or education or other things? Why spend it on cash? It doesn't make sense. And then you'll notice something. Anytime there is a gray activity that's happening anywhere in the world, which is fishy, dodgy, things that shouldn't be happening, you will notice that cash trail is right around it. It is never used on transparent digital rails. It's always goes with cash. So the cost of those activities where government cannot actualize their revenues, this is all cash-based, gray economy that's out there, it only makes sense that we and other stakeholders come together and create the incentives for merchants, users, and everybody to actually digitize. And in fact, there should be a disincentive for when you use cash. So if I'm purchasing something, and I am using digital, I should have an incentive. I should get something for it.
Yeah.
If I'm using cash, which is creating issues for the merchant, for the economy in general, that should not be something welcome.
Yeah.
That's my humble view, because that then yields a lot of benefits that one can benefit from. But coming back to, let's say, the areas of growth, SMEs are the backbone. 90% still on cash. We need to digitize them ASAP.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How do we digitize them without, let's say, first point, I go to a merchant and I say, hey, merchant X, your business would be better off if you digitize. Okay, sir. Can you tell me what solutions do you have for me as Mastercard? My answer will be, I have a $300 POS machine. But as soon as I say, hey, this is an investment, they'll say, oh, I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Then I'll say, no, how about we go with tap on phone? So the phone that you're carrying in your palm, I can actually enable it for people to come and tap on them and make the payment.
And it's done.
Yeah, no cost. I think suddenly I get the interest.
Yes.
Right? And then they say, no, I don't even have a physical phone. I use feature phones. Then you go, oh, I got a problem. So then you tell them, how about we give you one QR, but it's an interoperable QR which accepts everything. It could accept mobile money, it could accept bank cards, it could be whatever. But I'll give you that, and it's a sticker. Just put that sticker and people can use that, and that's free, right?
Okay.
So then it becomes a really good conversation.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect around areas that we think there's a lot of opportunity on. Now, the second big one is, if you think about interregional or global trade, to that point of $1 trillion, by 2035, we anticipate that $1 trillion is going to be traded globally.
Yeah.
So for that to be captured, what we need is to ensure that, firstly, understand what are the trading corridors. So if China is hot, India is hot, GCC is hot, and Europe, depending on those corridors and depending on the type of trade, our solutions as Mastercard, so we've got a Mastercard Move solution, for example, where we allow businesses, nothing to do with card. Okay. I know our name is Mastercard, but we do a lot more than just card. Right?
More than that, yeah.
So these are rails which are account led.
Yeah.
So I can take money from my account, I can pay a supplier somewhere in China, and Mastercard Move enables you to do that at a fraction of the cost. Now, what was the need for Mastercard Move? I think that's also important to understand from a viewer's perspective.
Yeah.
You have currently a payments infrastructure where the banks use their rails through SWIFT or others, but it's defragmented. You have, some banks are utilizing a certain correspondent bank. Some banks are using another one. Some take 2 days, some takes 3 days, some takes 1 day. So how does the trader have that confidence that, look, no, I want my transactions to happen near real time. I want to have surety that the amount of money I've paid is the money that's reaching the end position, and not like cut off fees.
Cut off in between,
right?
yeah.
You've experienced that, right?
Yeah.
We all do that. So I think that's where Mastercard Move made sense, because A, it was cutting the cost of transaction down by 40%.
Okay.
B, it was enabling this unlock.
Okay.
And I'm very happy that we have gone live with a bank in Kenya. The first transactions happened a few days ago. I can't tell you the name, but just keep an eye out for
It's
this.
coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you after the show. but we are going live with it here. But we've got Axis Bank in Nigeria, and other parts of Africa also live on that, and a few others. So I think that is a critical space for us to capture. And then, of course, there's a huge opportunity around telcos and mobile money, which I just want to quickly touch on.
Okay.
Majority of Africa runs on mobile money, if you think about it.
Yeah. We pioneered a bit of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, exactly. We're the leaders, right?
Yes,
Africa has got the world. We have 65% of the global, mobile money traffic.
Yeah.
And I think the predictions show that by 2027, majority of the world's transactions are going to happen on telco wallets or digital wallets. Start.
Yeah.
So for them, you have seen we have invested with MTN, we have invested with Airtel, we're live in Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, and we're going live with a few other markets very shortly. So we wanted to ensure that even if you don't have a card, from your wallet, you can actually do a transaction on our 100 million plus merchants globally. No card involved. We again create a token on the account or the wallet, and the transaction happens. We've done this in Far East, and we're bringing it here as well. So I think that then gets tens of millions of customers to enjoy our services and transact at our merchants.
I think for any customer, I included, anybody else who is transacting, the biggest thing, especially for SMEs, and I love that you have explained what you're doing with the SME world, is the ease of just my transactions. I don't want to feel like it's trouble. The moment it's trouble, you want to run away. And thanks so much for the advancements. Let's talk about what you're doing, especially on ecosystem collaboration. Because as you have said again, you are partnering, you've mentioned institutions, all that. And I can feel that element of collaboration in your conversations. In East Africa, what lessons have emerged around scaling digital acceptance through these multi-stakeholder ecosystems? And what makes this model work?
So firstly, you have to be humble enough to realize, as global as we are, we cannot do anything to scale by ourselves in comparison to when we actually partner.
That's true.
Right. And when we look at partners, our broad categories are governments, telcos, fintechs, banks, merchants. These five. So let's give an example. For example, there is a big bank in Ethiopia. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia. Today, through Commercial Bank of Ethiopia Ethio Direct service, you can actually receive remittances from all over the world to Ethiopia. And for Ethiopia, remittances is a very important aspect of their economy. So, that makes life very easy for anybody, any diaspora outside, to send money home instantly. The card is debited, amount is credited into the account at the largest bank, which has 60% market share, meaning that almost everybody has an account in that bank.
Absolutely.
Let's go down to Tanzania. The largest bank there, NMB Bank, is doing amazing work in terms of QR. So there the question was, again, nobody wants to pay for the $300 POS machine. Okay, we want to include the SMEs. Yes. What do we do? They decided to be the pioneers, and they said, we're going to be the first ones to launch QR Pay by Link in Tanzania. I know in Kenya, QR has not reached scale, but in Tanzania, if you go there, you will not find a merchant who doesn't have a QR.
Their QR.
It's the opposite.
Okay.
Right? So there, again, a public sector bank has taken the lead, and using Mastercard QR Pay by Link is now terminalizing all the merchants so that any foreign tourists or local domestic user can go and make the payment. Right? So suddenly you start realizing, could Mastercard have done this alone? Of course not. Because we had Commercial Bank of Ethiopia who wanted to solve for a pain point, because we had an NMB bank who wanted to solve for the SME, we are now becoming very effective, impactful, meaningful. Yesterday, there was a big event in Ethiopia with the second largest bank in Ethiopia called Awash Bank. And Awash Bank has launched its digital platforms. It's in the press already. You'll see the press releases come out. We're so proud of that. That again, we have unlocked remittances coming into the second largest bank there. I believe that telcos I've already stressed enough on, but let's talk maybe fintech now. We have gone live with CPF in Kenya in partnership with Diamond Trust Bank. Remittances, it was one aspect that I discussed. Now let's talk about pensions, right?
Very
with
important.
this, exactly. So with CPF and DTB, we have enabled that the government pensions that are supposed to be coming in, let's give a platform. And on that platform, all the pensions get routed straight to a prepaid card managed and issued by CPF through Diamond Trust Bank. And suddenly, the end user is, instead of standing in lines or having a fragmented way of collection of remittances, can now have a systemic way of receiving their remittances on their card. And then they can withdraw the money from any ATM. They could actually pay at a merchant. And, the use cases open up suddenly. So that also we can't do by ourselves. We need these really innovative and creative fintechs to come and show us what they want to do, and then we try to enable and support them.
Absolutely. And I love that. And I love that you touch CPF because they're very passionate about retirement and how can we make it easy for retirees as well. As we near close of the conversation, you've announced some rapid expansions, and I think I was just checking around, rapid expansion, on-ground presence and talent across Africa. Just paint some color on what you're looking at.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, trust and proximity,
Yeah.
those are two fundamentals that it was very clear to us. If you go right by that, A, you are close to your customers, to your merchants, to your users, and you're listening to them. Now, why did we have the breakfast with the SMEs the other day, locally here? Because it's not a one-time thing. You have to be constantly looking at the changing environment. What are they seeing? What is the pain point? What's the friction? Because once you hear that, like I said, the SMEs told us straight up, real-time settlement, lower cost of payment, and interoperability. They don't want, an SME doesn't want 4 machines on their shop. They
don't have space for this
They don't
now.
have space. Even if you tell them put 3 QRs, that's not good. It makes your shop look ugly actually if you have 3 QRs. So our job is to make sure that interoperability means that there should be one QR. So if Kenya QR or TAN QR in Tanzania does the job, then we should apportion pieces in that QR, one for cards, one for mobile money, one for the domestic switch, whatever it may be, So then it makes, a lot of sense for the merchant to adopt. But coming to your question again, which when we opened our office in Mauritius, I just came from Mauritius last week.
Okay.
We had engagements with the finance minister, met with the regulator, and they thanked us. And they thanked that we took that decision on our own.
Yeah.
And we came and we sat with the banks, with the telcos, with the merchants, with the government. And now we are saying, how do we digitally transform Mauritius from where it is today to one which is fully digitized? Government to G2C payments should be fully digitized.
Yeah.
And then there should be talk of how do we ensure that the dependency on cash is further reduced. So I think one parameter that all government should be looking at is to every year, how much cash am I printing?
Yeah.
So we would like to be that partner. And how can we be that partner? If we're sitting with you, right? We need to be very close to you. We need to be very humble in understanding that every solution that we have deployed in the Middle East or the West or the East will not work for Africa.
Yeah.
We need to localize it. So I think that only happens when we open up our offices. So we've opened in Ghana, in Uganda, in Mauritius. I've got 3 more lined up. You'll be seeing and hearing about those news very soon. So we are committed to Africa. But we respect Africa by showing the world that, look, we will customize for Africa. Our economics have to work for Africa. And I mentioned that we have put a switch in South Africa. That is the only switch outside of the US. That's the only country where we have placed one.
Wow.
So that tells you the commitment that we are making to Africa, and Africa is the growth frontier of the future. So,
and from where I stand, if I was a politician, I would tell you this is good news because there will be more jobs.
Correct.
Anyway,
absolutely.
As we come to a close, and I love the fact that you've touched on AI and you've touched on security, and how merchants and everybody else who is using your system is their money is safe. I would like you to just give some extra color on how you see AI, because right now I think every conversation is now having AI on the table. In fact, somebody said it's either you're using it or you'll be caught off guard if you're not. So one of the key areas is how AI is already influencing payments. And you can actually even talk about that before you bring this in. But I wanted to talk about shifts that you think any business that hasn't even thought about AI yet or financial institution needs to prepare for in the next 3, 4, 5 years? Because you sit at a place where you see this.
Excellent question. In addition to opening these offices and the more offices we open, we have already grown by 20% in terms of our number of people in Africa. And this is just in the span of the last year.
That's significant.
So that's a very high growth rate.
Absolutely.
And so when we think of now AI, there are multiple layers in AI and its utilization. The one that we have already been using, I've shared 2 decades ago, we started utilizing AI because we needed AI to double the speed of detection of fraud events.
Yeah.
You know, because fraud, if you don't capture it and close it and manage it fast enough, it can impact your network in a very strong way and impact your customers, your merchants, and so on. We can't afford that.
Yeah.
So we had to invest heavily in AI, $11 billion. Now, this is massive. We have invested $11 billion into AI.
That's huge.
You know, and we have many assets, including there are about 3 or 4 assets in this office, which I can show you after the show. But what does AI do? So one, from a securitization perspective, it detects, preempts. You know, we have solutions which I can actually put a risk score on you by just seeing how you usually hold your phone. And recently I've been noticing that you've been actually typing, your typing speed is different, your behavior is changing, the kind of shops you actually do, and this is all anonymous. I have no line of sight on who you are as your identity. I only know this as an anonymous person who is doing something. This is his regular or her regular behavior, and this is something that's outside of it. So AI can detect that for you.
Absolutely.
You know, so with new data and a few other solutions, we are able to do that just by seeing how to risk score transactions coming from your phone.
Yeah.
Then let's go to AI from a data utilization perspective. So, for example, I do my retail a certain way, and I've got a very busy life like you, right?
Yeah.
So, wouldn't it be nice that you are sitting in your office, you're working on your email, and we call our Mastercard AI agent Maya.
Yeah.
Mastercard intelligent agent. That's
like
what we
that,
call
Maya.
her, Maya. So you can talk to her after the show. But what Maya does is that while I'm working and I'm busy with whatever something that I'm focused on is an important, now I want to book my travel.
Yeah.
Right. So I will say, hi Maya, can you please book my tickets from here to here on this date, economy class, seat preference is this, food is this, please, thank you very much. Maya's going to go search she's plugged into all the travel engines. So she'll check that. She'll say, Mr. Shehryar, I've got a solution for you, and this is the airline, this is the cost. Are you okay with it?
Yeah.
I will say yes. Now, I have given the authority to Maya to use my card.
Wow.
Okay? Up to a limit. I can always control whatever. Yeah. So Maya says, okay, we're ready to make the payment. Shall I issue? And I'll be, yes. So then I'll be requested to look at the camera because passkey, which is basically like your phone does your ID check.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So a passkey authentication happens and the transaction is done. And while I'm working on my email, the ticket comes into my mailbox.
Boom.
Right? Now, that is good use of AI.
You're right.
And agentic commerce.
You're right.
We have just done our first transaction on agentic commerce in Dubai. Publicly, it's for Walk Cinemas with Majid Al Futtaim Group. Delightful that you could actually do exactly this experience that I've just shared by just talking in large language models and getting your transactions done. So that's the second layer.
Okay.
The last one that and there are many use cases, but our program is not long enough for us to cover all. But the other layer is hyper-personalization. How well do I know you, Maina? Like, for example, you, every time you do something, you leave a data imprint that, I did this, this is my preference, this is my style. I'm getting to, as an agent, somebody should be using that data. Today, nobody is. Or very few entities are. If we, let's say, enable a bank to now hyper-personalize using, let's say we have a solution called dynamic yield. Dynamic yield checks first, anonymously again, what is your preference? Let's say you do a lot of transactions in China. Dynamic yield is going to go into the priceless platform of Mastercard and say, okay, I've got discounts in China at AliExpress, Alipay, Alibaba. This customer is always doing transactions in China, but it will proactively reach out to the client and say, we have got an offer for you.
Yeah.
Right? So the client feels like, so so somebody's understanding me better. Before I ask for it, I've been given the option, right? So that hyper personalization is something that we are unlocking through our solutions. And I believe AI has a great role to play, and it just makes you feel like relevancy comes into your life.
Absolutely.
Rather than receiving an offer, I don't know, somewhere that I probably have no connection to. Or
All right.
don't find interesting.
I want you to close by telling us how success will look like for you in East Africa. And also to ask you whether you're a little scared of AI, because at this rate, these are good solutions. And sometimes I was having a chat somewhere in an AI conference, and we saw the good, amazing. And sometimes if it lands on the wrong side, I don't know what will happen. But anyway, give us the good sides and what you see as success for Mastercard.
So for Mastercard, I think our success lies in the fact that we listen. Okay, and this is, I mean this with all seriousness. It is very easy for you to take off-the-shelf solutions and throw it into a market, throw it into an ecosystem, and expect it to work where it does and doesn't work where it doesn't. It's actually much harder when you actually sit down, you stay close to your customers, you understand the pain points, and then you purpose fit, customize, and economically make it viable to place that solution into that right pain point. What's special about this lovely team that we have in this office, and a big shout out to them, that's day in, day out their job. Focus on the customer, right? So once we get that feedback, then we get the creative juices flowing, use our tech stack, use our amazing designers and creators to help us. Yeah. So to me, success would look like that, not just in cards, in any field, whether it's, I'll tell you something that's got nothing to do with payments. Let's say you're a bank, you've got a supplier, right? And that supplier provides you technology or something else. We have solutions which can actually risk score that supplier, and that supplier the bank can tell the supplier, you need to up your security. Currently, we're not too happy.
Wow.
Right?
You even help in that.
Yeah. We also provide services like, let's say you're a bank and you say, I don't know how secure my infrastructure is at this stage. Can you test? I can attack your bank. As Mastercard, we have solutions. Maybe attack is a dramatic word, but you know what I mean. I can, in a controlled environment, test the limits of your institution and show you a report that this is where you're great. This is where, some improvements can be put in place. So what we want to do is make sure that the digital infrastructure is very well protected, is trusted, is secure, creates value for our customers, helps them grow their business on the back of credit. SMEs move away from the friction of cash towards digitization and embrace the benefits of digitization, global trade. Let's open. If you're just limited as an SME to a 5-kilometer radius around you, you're limited.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. What if we open you on e-commerce and you're able to now sell products to somebody in,
Nigeria.
China, Nigeria, South Africa? Suddenly your remit changes. Right? And that's where economic growth then really flourishes. And if we can play our little part in that by being close to our customers, being humble, bringing value, and securing and ensuring there's trust that we are developing on layer after layer, we would be the happiest company.
What a nice way to end it, and fantastic way of thinking of how we can empower even these merchants to just not only think within their borders, but even outside, because you have the system already in place.
Correct.
Thank you so much for your time, Ali.
Such a pleasure. Thank you very much. It's been a real privilege.
Thank you so much. There you have it. That is Shehryar Ali, the Senior Vice President and Country Manager of East Africa and Indian Ocean Islands at Mastercard here. Very optimistic about the future. Not scared about AI. Is here to help us as well. But of course, ensuring that you're safe, your money is safe, and that your businesses flourish. Thank you so much for your time. I'll leave you now with the markets.